Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibis, welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here. It's Monday. We're going to do a quick update episode, and then I'm going to take some time off for vacation. My youngest is turning 13 a week from today, so we're going to head down to the beach house for a little while. I'll be back next weekend with some more updates for you. I will be doing some YouTube shorts, so this is a good time to remind you, if you're not subscribed over on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe. Don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and you can ring my bell if you want notifications of when I post new content. Click that little bell icon. Music fact of the day. Garth Brooks is the only artist to have released 7 Diamond certified albums. Love me some Garth Brooks. We're going to jump right into some Rachel Morin updates. Victor Martinez Hernandez, the 23-year-old man who's accused of killing Rachel, was extradited back to Hartford County last week. He was flown on a small plane from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and he also had his bond hearing on Friday. He was on Zoom. State's attorney Allison Healy said Rachel's murder is one of the most brutal and violent crimes to happen in Hartford County. He had been staying with family in Maryland. It's not really specified exactly where, but he was there until the beginning of May this year when he left and never came back, which means he was still local while the manhunt was underway just after her murder. When he left 2 bags of clothing and a pair of shoes at their home. That was used to connect him to Rachel's murder through DNA. The charging document says that additional DNA testing was conducted, which resulted in identifying a possible relative of the suspect. Subsequent investigation into the family lineage led to the identification of Hernandez. We found out Hernandez is the father to a 3-year-old girl and also works to support her and his parents. Just a trigger warning, we also learned more details about Rachel's murder. She had 10 to 15 head wounds. She was sexually violated and also strangled. Patty Morin, who's Rachel's mother, learned of her daughter's murder while she was on her way back from Kentucky, where her 3-month-old grandchild had died of SIDS. She had been in the car only 30 minutes before hearing the news about her daughter. She told the Washington Post, "A mother wants to protect her children, and I wasn't there to protect her last year. Maybe this is some way to still do that, to make sure nothing is left undone. The pain is so great you don't want to express it. Denial is a way your mind protects you from your pain." Speaking of the arrest, she said it just made everything more real, more factual. You feel the full blunt of your grief. Obviously, the details of what happened to Rachel were very hard for her family to hear, and Rachel's family's attorney, Randolph Rice, said Patty Morin was very emotional. The deputies handed her a box of Kleenex. She was crying. Again, looking in the face of someone who's alleged to have killed your daughter has got to be tough, and this is the first time she's been that close to him. Rachel's mother told Fox News Digital, "It's really brazen to stay in the state where he committed the crime. It also amazes me that his family didn't see the flyers we posted." Rachel's sister, Erin Morin Lehman, told Court TV it's been a long 10 months, but she said they're grateful and relieved and happy that he is finally off the streets and can't do this to anyone else, and that justice will be served for Rachel. She said, "I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about Rachel's children and just focusing on them, spending time with them, loving them, being everything in their life I could possibly be." Just a reminder, Rachel was the mother of 5 children. The suspect is accused of murder in his native El Salvador. He was seen leaving a bar with that victim the last week in December of 2022. Her remains were found days later. He fled El Salvador in February of 2023 after an arrest warrant was issued. He'll be back in court on July 18th. Moving on to Scott Peterson and his bid for a new trial. Just a little recap, he was convicted and sentenced to death initially for the murders of his wife Lacey and their unborn son Connor. That death sentence was overturned and he was resentenced to life without parole. Last month, a judge ruled that a single item of evidence from the murders of Lacey and baby Connor could be retested for DNA, one piece of duct tape that was found with Lacey's remains. The LA Innocence Project asked for more than 12 pieces of evidence to be tested. So this was a blow to their bid for a new trial when the judge only allowed the single piece of duct tape. It's around 15 inches long, and it was found on the right thigh of the pants Lacey was wearing when she was found. That piece of duct tape had been tested way back in 2013, But with the advances in DNA testing, the judge agreed it could potentially give results that were previously impossible to get. Scott's attorneys say the duct tape was folded with both adhesive sides stuck together and that DNA was found on the tape, but a DNA profile could not be created. The LA Innocence Project was focusing on a van that was stolen and found burned just a day after a burglary near the Peterson home. The van was found about a mile away from Scott and Lacey's house. An investigator said there was a mattress inside that van with what looked to be bloodstains, and the owners of that van said it did not have a mattress inside when it was stolen. The prosecutor, David Harris, said that testing did not reveal any blood on the mattress. This was one of the many items the judge denied testing on. Another item that was denied was the Target bag that was found near Lacey's body, a work glove and hammer that was recovered from that burglary near their house. The director of the LA Innocence Project told Judge Elizabeth Hill that Scott was convicted in a circumstantial case and that no cause or time and date of death could be established, as well as no murder weapon found. There will be a hearing in July to decide how the testing will be done on that duct tape. Moving on to Kouri Richins, she's accused of killing her husband with fentanyl and then went on to write a children's book about grief. We have a preliminary hearing scheduled. It was delayed after her defense team withdrew from the case. Previously, it was scheduled for June 21st. The hearing is now scheduled for August 26th through the 28th. It's expected to last 2 or 3 days. I will be live streaming that and covering that nightly. Quick update on Tracy Ferriter in the Boy in the Box case. Her and her husband both were accused of keeping their adopted son in a box in their garage. Her husband, Timothy, was found guilty in October of last year and sentenced to 5 years in prison for his role. They were charged with first-degree felony aggravated child abuse, third-degree felony false imprisonment, and third-degree felony neglect of a child that dates back to December of 2021. Tracy took a plea deal, and she's avoiding prison, unlike her husband. She will have 1 year of house arrest in Palm Beach County, 10 years of probation. She is required to undergo mental health evaluations. She's required to perform 300 hours of community service, and she will be required to submit a DNA sample by an oral swab as part of that plea deal. She also has to do anger management within 90 days of in-house arrest. It's a good deal for her, considering her husband's in the slammer for 5 solid. Alec Baldwin, this trial's coming up quickly, y'all. I will be live streaming this and doing daily updates. We covered Hannah Gutierrez Reed's trial back in March of this year. I really think Alec Baldwin will take the stand. I think in this case, he has to. Jury selection for his trial begins July 9th for the Rust movie set shooting death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. That also injured director Joel Souza. Openings are expected to begin the day after jury selection, which would be July 10th. There is a hearing happening today where attorneys are asking that the involuntary manslaughter charges be thrown out due to the testing of the weapon that killed Miss Hutchins. That revolver was damaged after it was struck with a mallet several times by an FBI expert. The reason that test was performed was to see if that gun would fire without using the trigger. In the process, that gun was broken, which was a risk the state and the FBI knew was very likely if they proceeded with that testing. This all came in at Hannah's trial, and Baldwin claims he pulled the hammer back but did not pull the trigger. The state's theory is that that gun could not have fired without the trigger being pulled. The expert who testified at Hannah's trial agrees with that. He testified that the gun was fully functional with safety features when the FBI received it to do this testing. Last year, the charge for involuntary manslaughter was dismissed against Baldwin after they were informed the weapon may have been modified before the shooting, which caused that malfunction. After this FBI analysis and the testing in question, the prosecution secured a grand jury indictment and we are set for trial. On Friday, the judge denied a request to dismiss. His attorneys argued that Baldwin had no reason to think the gun had live ammunition and was not subjectively aware of the risks. The judge disagreed and said involuntary manslaughter talks about the defendant should have known the danger. And she said, I think that's really at the core. They were also denied by the judge when they argued prosecutors went against the rules of grand jury proceedings in an attempt to take the focus off of exculpatory evidence and witnesses. The judge said the prosecution is not required to present exculpatory evidence to the grand jury. The big question is, will Hannah Gutierrez Reed testify at Alec Baldwin's trial? Well, prosecutors were denied a request to give Hannah immunity to testify. Statements she gave to investigators as well as workplace safety regulators will probably come in. She won't be required to testify, and the judge pointed out other witnesses can fill in the details if she chooses not to take the stand. She invoked her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination and refused to answer questions in the pretrial interview just this May in preparation for Alec Baldwin's trial. The judge obviously saw that as a sign Hannah's not intending to cooperate. Judge Marlo Summers said, I haven't heard of anything that she might testify to that someone else could not testify to. The prosecution said Baldwin has made shameless attempts to escape responsibility. They mentioned contradictions in his statements to law enforcement, workplace safety regulators, and also a televised interview he did. Prosecutors also plan to show photos of Baldwin allegedly being reckless with the gun on set, which includes a photo of him where his finger is seen inside the gun's trigger with his thumb on the gun's hammer. The maximum penalty he's facing, if found guilty, is 18 months in prison. That's the same sentence Hannah Gutierrez Reed is currently serving and appealing. He is free pending trial with conditions including he not possess firearms, consume alcohol, or leave the country. So I'm really interested in this trial. There is going to be a lot of focus on it with it being a celebrity, but with Gutierrez Reed's guilty verdict, it's going to be very interesting. Does this jury find Baldwin culpable for what happened to Miss Hutchins? In Hannah's trial, it came out that the gun should have been cleared by her. She was the armorer on set as well as the first assistant director, who pled guilty, by the way, and received probation in that. Hannah took it to trial and got 18 months. That's it for the updates. Like I said, this was going to be a very short one. Next weekend, when I get home, we'll update on what happens in the next week and a half. And I will be doing those YouTube shorts again. Just a reminder. So go subscribe and hit the bell notifications. I may post some vacation videos that have nothing to do with true crime, but looking forward to celebrating my youngest 13th birthday. I'm going to have 3 teenagers, y'all. Send Valium. Okay. All right. That's it.